Bright Green Field is the debut album by Squid, a new young band from Brighton, England, who are turning a lot of heads at the moment. A lot of people, a lot of music fans are very excited for this album. And it just came out this past Friday, the 7th of May, 2021. I'm Johnny Catrue, and I'm going to be listening to the album for the first time today. So there's a lot of hype around this band at the moment. I know a lot of music fans are very excited for this album. I first heard Squid a while back when they released an EP, but I don't remember it too well. But it was when they started releasing singles for this new album, the first single, Narrator, that got me and my friends very excited. It's really an amazing song. And they've released 2 more singles since then, both of which were equally fantastic. Their ratings on Rate Your Music have been extremely high, putting them at the top of the singles chart for 2021. Squid are a part of a new wave of British prog punk that's been coming up lately alongside other bands like Black Midi and Black Country New Road. And all 3 of these bands are releasing new albums early this year. Black Country New Road just released their debut album in February, which was excellent. And Black Midi released their debut album a couple years back, which was also excellent, but they've got their second album coming out later this month. But right now we've got the new album by Squid. It's got very good reviews so far. The Metacritic score is 91 out of 100 at the moment. And on Rate Your Music, it's currently got a 4.07 from 1,000 ratings. I can't wait to hear it for myself. So let's get into it.
Mosquito nuts, they cover the building.
So that was the first track, the intro, Resolution Square, and the first main song, GSK. Really cool first song. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Some of the vocals, I said this before, but I haven't seen it said much elsewhere, but the vocalist from Enter Shikari, the post-hardcore band, he does a lot of rapped vocals using his natural English accent, not so different from mine. And it feels like the guy from Squid does a similar thing, and it comes out feeling not too different to the way Enter Shikari does it. Obviously, this is a very different context, though. I'm not too sure what a GSK actually is, but, maybe I can look that up later. Anyway, on to the next song, which is Narrator. So that's one we all already know. Let's listen.
Path doesn't change.
Wow. So that was Boy Racers, and before that I listened to Narrator. I let them flow into each other because there was a nice transition. Narrator, just as good as I remember it, amazing, high energy. But what really took me aback, I'd forgotten, was how good the production is. But that carried on to the next song as well. The production on these songs is so clear and crisp, and like the bass almost feels like it's from a dub track. And I love the peak that Narrator builds to. The female vocals are almost like lingua ignota levels of intensity. And then we had Boy Racers, which was pretty cool at the start. I wasn't too sure at first. It wasn't doing too much for me in the first minute or so, but then some of the polyrhythms started to hit me. And then it went into that very unexpected lengthy ambient section that was beautiful, but then also very strange and quite intense. The sound became so thick by the end, it was quite enveloping. So yeah, quite unexpected that detour, but enjoyed it very much. The next song is another one that was released as a single. It's Paddling. So here we go.
Just do what you're told.
Shaping in size. Where you going? Don't wanna go there.
Don't push me. Sweat drip off my.
Another rather beautiful ambient part to end off documentary filmmaker. Well, first there was Paddling, which, you know, as I say, we already knew as a single, but another great track. It's one I can really imagine getting excited dancing to a live show. I would love to be seeing this band live, hopefully one day. That would be great. Documentary filmmaker felt a little bit inconsequential. You know, it was kind of interesting, but didn't quite do it for me like the other tracks so far. Yeah, not bad though. Anyway, we'll continue. The next song is called 2010.
Was there enough to kill the whole damn street? Was there enough to improve your swing? You don't remember?
Well, that was Peel Street. Before that, we had The Flyover, and before that, 2010. 2010 was a great one. It was kind of had a juxtaposition between really angular rhythms in a 7/8 time signature with more emotional kind of vocals, more soaring vocals, alongside the more kind of unmoved atonal vocals next to it. It was, yeah, a lot of things at once. It could be a one to grow on me a lot. The Flyover was just sort of brass-led interlude. Kind of reminded me of something Radiohead might do. And then Peel Street was another one to dance to. Another one I'll look forward to hearing live one day, I hope. Yeah, so not bad. Just 2 tracks left. Next one is called Global Groove. And then we got Pamphlets, which was the last single.
Like around my hips and a
Some wide smiles. This
And there you go. That's Bright Green Field by Squid. They really saved the last 2 tracks. They saved the 2 most emotionally charged songs for last, I think. Global Groove was very different, actually, to a lot of the rest of the album. It was a lot more subdued, and with a lot of emotion in it. I did like it. And I liked Pamphlets since we first heard it as a single, but I think this time I wasn't too sure when we saw it was going to be the last track on the album. I wasn't sure it would totally work, but it really did, because it kind of hits a emotional, it hits a peak of intensity by the end. So I thought it worked really well. So I really enjoyed the album. I had very high expectations for it, and it did meet them. I had a lot of fun listening, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that it's getting so much praise right now. I will say though that the 3 singles that released before the album were probably still the best tracks in my opinion. Especially Narrator, which I love so much, and I thought it was even better in the context of the album. But also Pamphlets, which maybe was my least favorite of the 3, but yeah, as I said just now, I thought it worked really well as a closer, and I was really happy to hear it when it came on. Yeah, I guess that's the only downside about releasing your strongest tracks as singles for your album. Means that once you hear the album, there's nothing that's really going to surpass it. Nothing's going to top it. And that did happen in this case for me. So, it remains to be seen if on further listens, maybe other songs will grow on me more. I know I did enjoy the other ones, but I just felt that the 3 singles were still the best tracks. Maybe I would have been even happier with the album if it had had some more surprises in store for me, big moments that took me by surprise. But, on the whole, I very much enjoyed listening to the whole album. There wasn't really anything that I thought let it down. And the amount of variety of sound on the album was pretty good. It kept me entertained, kept me intrigued through the whole thing. So here we are on the Rate Your Music page for Bright Green Field. And as you can see, the rating has gone down a bit since I made the introduction to my video, when I said it was over 4 with 1,000 ratings. Now it's down to a 3.91 from 3,000 ratings. So, no surprise, there's a lot of interest in the album. It's already up to 3,000 ratings. And the rating is at 3.91. So it's gone down a bit, but it's still, very high. And I think we can probably expect it to be number 1 for 2021 once the charts update this week. I think the Pharoah Sanders and Floating Points album is number 1 at the moment, but I expect this is probably going to overtake it. Very high ratings for all the tracks as well, especially Narrator and Pamphlets, which is in line with my first reaction to it as well. Do remember 2010 being a very cool track as well. But let's take a look at some of the comments that happened. Well, we're not going to be reading many of these comments because there's almost 2,000 of them already. This person says that the album is more of a krautrock album. I see what they mean with the, I guess they would say the motoric beats, but I don't know, that's quite a typical thing for post-punk. So it's more of a post-punk influence, I think, than a krautrock thing directly. And yeah, this person's pointing out that the rating has dropped quite a bit, but like I said, that's quite normal. The fact that it still has such a high rating for 3,000 ratings is, a good sign for the album. I wish I could be one of the users that gets excited for these semi-annual overhyped post-punk records. I'm not sure what they mean. That are musically solid but nothing to write home about, but are still going to be top 10 because the same people overhyping them, giving them 4.5 or 5 within 20 seconds of them being released. Well, obviously, I don't advocate rating an album quickly after first listen, but, people are... They have their right to do that if that's what they want to do. But to be honest, I don't really see what the what their point is. I mean, this has 9 upvotes, so obviously there's a lot of people that agree with this. But I think that we've had many years now of not a lot of rock music being the most exciting music of the time. So having all these British prog punk bands coming up, I think it's an exciting thing and not something to be cynical about. It's something to enjoy, something to be excited for. I mean, if you enjoy the album or not, that's another matter. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. I will say that some of the influences are worn very clearly on their sleeve, but it sounds modern. It's the performance and the production style. To me, it sounds modern. It doesn't sound like post-punk from another era. While I don't think the rest of the album holds up to the pretty incredible bar that the singles set, I agree, more or less. It's still a great post-punk record in a year full of exciting punk and rock releases. There were a couple tracks that felt too vague to really leave an impression, and as much as I appreciate the bold choice of the outro of Boy Racers, it goes on for far too long. Well, I also appreciated that bold choice, but But I don't know if it did go on far too long. I probably could have taken more of it, especially since there wasn't too much more of that ambient style on the album. Great album overall though, and I'm excited to see where the group goes from here. So overall the impression I'm getting is that people are very excited, very pleased with the album. Although, as you might expect, there are plenty of people crying that it's being overhyped and getting too much praise. And, you know, that's to be expected with anything that's got a lot of people's attention and has a lot of people excited for the music. You know, which this album certainly does have that. I'm now very excited to see what Black Midi has coming for us. Again, their singles have been amazing, and their performance live on KEXP on YouTube was incredible. So we can't wait to hear their new album later this month, and hopefully one day see all these great new bands live. So at some point in the future, I'll make a follow-up video to see how my opinion has changed on this album, see how I feel about it after a couple more listens. So you can watch that to see how my opinion changes, and I'll give you my rating out of 10. So leave a comment with your thoughts on this Squid album. Tell me your rating and why. And maybe I'll be able to read your comment in the follow-up video. So please leave a like on this video. Subscribe so you don't miss the follow-up. And until then, take it easy.